whether you like it or not.
This is Valley View News, and these are today's headlines. Bernie Sanders holds a rally in the Southland.
I'm getting old, and I've never seen that.
Hundreds are still gathering in Lake Elsinore for the Super Bloom. And a fire at an Escondido mosque may be a hate crime.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Natalia Vivino.
And I'm Esteban Reynoso.
A mosque in Escondido was set on fire. Police suspect it's an arson hate crime. 7 people were inside the Islamic Center of Escondido Mosque when the fire started. Lieutenant Chris Lick said graffiti was found on the building.
There was a note left at the mosque. It was on the driveway, parking lot portion of the mosque.
No one was injured. So far, no arrests have been made.
The Escondido Mosque arson comes just 10 days after the deadly terrorist attack at a Christchurch, New Zealand mosque. The Escondido graffiti even made reference to the Christchurch shootings where 49 people were killed.
There was a reference in the graffiti to the event that occurred in New Zealand, and that's leading us to investigate it as a hate crime.
After that mass shooting, New Zealand's government changed gun laws. All military-style semi-automatic weapons and assault rifles were banned. Also, high-capacity magazines were banned, along with parts used to convert firearms into semi-automatic weapons.
2,000 people rallied at Oregon's Capitol to support the Second Amendment. 2 businesses organized the Defend the Second Amendment rally. Oregon Senate Bill 501 would add more gun ownership regulations.
We have to protect ourselves from violence and from tyranny. And that's why I will always defend the Second Amendment.
The bill's supporters say it's needed to prevent gun violence.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has thrown his hat into the ring again to run for president. He appeared in downtown Los Angeles for a rally this weekend. Valley View News reporter Veronica Barriga was there.
More than 12,000 people showed up outside of Los Angeles City Hall to hear 2020 presidential candidate and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. The crowd cheered as Bernie spoke out against Wall Street and special interest groups.
To the private insurance companies, we say that whether you like it or not, the United States will join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a right.
Sanders supporter Michael Lindley is a veteran and the Los Angeles chapter president of Veterans for Peace. He agrees with all of Sanders's ideas.
I support anything that's progressive. You know what I mean? We have to change everything. We have to get something. We have to get free education. We have to get free health care. You know, we need to make changes. And Bernie says, you know, he's the one who can do it.
Sanders's platform includes raising the federal minimum wage. He wants health care for all and wants no-cost tuition at public universities. He says many states and companies are embracing these ideas.
We have already helped transform political thinking in this country over the last 4 years, and we've got to continue to do so.
Cal State Dominguez Hills student Alexis Allencanter says she's followed Bernie's politics for years. She admires his willingness to restructure the political system.
I love that he was one of the first to put a spotlight on the corrupt system we have in politics. So campaign finance reform is a huge thing because I think it's the root of the problem that we have in the system.
Sanders also held rallies in San Diego and San Francisco. He says his 2020 campaign will be different than his last.
Oh, we're going to win California. We're going to win the Democratic nomination.
Bernie Sanders and his supporters are ready for change. They say they will continue fighting no matter what. I'm here in downtown Los Angeles for Valley View News, Veronica Barriga.
Another dead whale has been found on a Southern California beach. Valley View News reporter Angela Rose has more.
Crowds lined up their cars along the PCH. They walked to see the dead beach whale on County Line Beach. This young Pacific gray whale washed ashore on Sunday.
We never actually seen one in real life, so to see one up close in person was like kind of a surprise.
Researchers performed a necropsy to determine why the whale died. Crowds surrounded the whale, taking photos. Patty and Dichter spotted 2 more whales swimming nearby.
Whale, 2 whales, 2 2 of them right over there. They both just flew.
Researchers aren't surprised to find another dead whale here. State Park Ranger Kelly Apperson says the whale may be infected.
We don't really want to leave the body here because protecting it all hours of every day and preventing people from touching it is extremely hard to do.
State park officials hope to determine how and when they'll move this whale off the beach by the end of the day. Reporting at County Line Beach for Valley View News, I'm Angela Rose.
Attorney Michael Avenatti has been arrested. New York prosecutors say he tried to scheme Nike into giving him up to $25 million. Now he's charged with fraud. Court documents say Avenatti threatened to damage the company's reputation if he didn't get what he wanted. Nike released a written statement this morning saying the company won't be extorted or hide information that's part of a government investigation. U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman says Avenatti's plan was a shakedown.
Avenatti's conduct had nothing to do with zealous advocacy for a client or any other kind of legitimate legal work. Instead, Avenatti used illegal and extortionate threats for the purpose of obtaining millions of dollars in payments for himself.
Avenatti denies all charges against him.
A Houston police officer has been arrested in connection with the death of his own wife. Belinda Hernandez was found shot to death in her home Sunday. Officials say the investigation led to the arrest of her husband, Officer Hilario Hernandez. The wife was a school librarian. The couple's daughter said she was worried her father was angry at her mother for flirting.
A 1-year-old boy from Fresno County is dead after he was mauled by 2 dogs. The baby was attacked by the 2 Rottweilers when he wandered into the front yard. Police officers say it took both of the child's grandparents to stop the attack.
She tried to get the dogs off of the 1-year-old. She was also bit. It took the grandfather, who was also in the house, to get out and use a hose on these dogs to get the dogs off of the 1-year-old.
Police say the dogs lived 2 blocks away. They were reportedly often seen escaping by digging holes under the fence. Animal Control later found the 2 dogs roaming several blocks away. They were taken to a local animal shelter where they were euthanized.
A man has been arrested for kicking a 78-year-old woman on a New York subway. It happened early this month, but cell phone footage from bystanders just surfaced online today. The videos don't show anyone trying to intervene. Police have identified the attacker as 36-year-old Mark Gomez. They say he's facing multiple harassment charges. His victim suffered bleeding and cuts to her face. Police say she's already received treatment.
As CSUN is preparing for Suicide Awareness Week, the Parkland, Florida school community is grieving 2 shooting survivors who committed suicide. Valley View News reporter Sydney Gamino has more on the story.
A second Parkland school shooting survivor died of an apparent suicide this week. Ryan Petty, the father of a Parkland shooting victim, says parents must know when their child needs help.
Get the word out, help parents and understand the risks, and then get them the information they need.
California State University Northridge is preparing its own Suicide Awareness Week project. The Semicolon Project seeks to help students talk more about mental health issues. Event coordinator Yasmin Sarnif says it's important because suicide among young people is on the rise.
It's becoming more and more common, unfortunately. All the deaths by suicide and rise in depression and anxiety. So there's clearly a need for students to feel supported.
A CSUN student who wishes to remain off camera says she believes too many students won't talk about mental health out of fear.
So they feel kind of like weird. So I feel like they won't ask for help because they don't want to people to know.
A CBS News survey shows that 1 in 5 students consider suicide. Some CSUN students say they're encouraged to go to the university offering counseling services. Reporting in Northridge for Valley View News, I'm Sydney Gamino.
President Trump says the country can never let this happen to another president. He's talking about special counsel Robert Mueller's 22-month investigation into Trump's involvement in Russia's meddling in the 2016 presidential election. Mueller released the report on Friday afternoon, and on Sunday, Attorney General William Barr released a 4-page summary of Mueller's report, saying the investigation found no collusion between President Trump, his associates, and Russia. But Barr also says the Mueller report did not draw a conclusion about whether President Trump obstructed justice during the investigation. President Trump now says the investigation was an illegal takedown.
To be honest, it's a shame that your president has had to go through this before I even got elected. It began. And it began illegally. And hopefully somebody's going to look at the other side.
Trump tweeted yesterday that Barr's letter represented total exoneration. Now House Democrats and some Republicans are asking Barr to release the full report. House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler says the president is wrong about being fully exonerated.
This report does not amount to a so-called total exoneration. Special Counsel Mueller was clear that his report, quote, does not exonerate, close quote, the president.
The Russian probe gave out more than 2,800 subpoenas, executed more than 500 search warrants, and resulted in 34 indictments, and cost more than $25 million in taxpayer dollars to produce.
The California poppies are in bloom. Valley View News reporter Samantha Rodriguez captured the beautiful landscape at Lake Elsinore.
Lake Elsinore is experiencing its first super bloom in many years. Orange poppies fill the hillsides. The super bloom is a popular tourist attraction. Hundreds of people are visiting the trails. It's also the perfect place to take pictures.
I think that's what everyone's doing. I'm looking around, everyone's just like snapping away.
Ernie Malero drove 2 hours to get the perfect shot.
The view from the freeway was awesome.
While many visitors were taking photos with the flowers, some just did yoga with the flowers, and others just to admire them. Illustrator Scott Brazy says he came to the super bloom to paint the poppies. He says this is a rare occasion.
Getting a chance to see like a natural phenomenon like this in person and then record it, you know, how not just what it looks like through a picture, but like how I see it and how I feel about it is just like a special moment, I think.
Visitors are also seeing painted ladies flying through the hillsides of Walker Canyon.
Yeah, that's an extra special treat.
Michelle Salmon and Gary Lynch say the migration of butterflies is what makes this super bloom special.
I've lived here my whole life, which is a long time. I'm getting old, and I've never seen that, so it's really nice.
As you can see, there are millions of poppies throughout the hills. The super bloom has attracted hundreds of people all over Southern California to visit the famous flowers. In Lake Elsinore, I'm Samantha Rodriguez for Valley View News.
The annual mass butterfly migration that took place last week was different from years before. The orange butterflies, known as painted ladies, were seen flying all over Southern California, but proved quite hard to film. This year, the numbers were in the millions. CSUN biology professor Randy Cohen says this winter's rainfall helped plants thrive, which fueled the butterfly's transformation.
Because of the rains, the larvae finished feeding, pupated, made their cocoons, and hatched, and all of a sudden they decided to migrate to cooler climates before the desert heat hits.
We don't know if this spectacle will happen again next year. It all depends on the weather.
And now it's time to hear from the entertainment side. Here's Bridget Creamer to tell us more about Jordan Peele's latest release. Bridget?
Thanks, Natalia. Jordan Peele's highly anticipated thriller, Us, grossed $70 million during the weekend. It starred Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke. The couple is forced to fend off bloodthirsty clones while vacationing with their kids.
There's a family in our driveway.
It's probably the neighbors. But y'all scared of a family? Hi, can I help you?
It's been a good year for Universal thanks to Jordan Peele. Bohemian Rhapsody premiered in China Friday, but some content was censored. Several minutes of scenes referencing homosexuality were edited out. Chinese film reviewers had mixed feelings. Some people took to social media complaining. They asked, why is it necessary to delete gay-related content? Homosexuality has been legal in China for 2 decades, but explicit references to same-sex relationships in media are still banned. WWE announced a women's match will be a main event for the first time at WrestleMania. Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair will be close out to WrestleMania 35. This event is April 7th at MetLife Stadium. It'll be live streamed. The bilingual Nickelodeon animated show Dora the Explorer is going to movie theaters this summer. The film featured Dora adjusting to high school after a life in the jungle. She and her classmates are kidnapped. They are forced to help criminals find the city of gold. 17-year-old Peruvian-American actress Isabella Moner stars as Dora. Her sidekick is Boots, voiced by Danny Trejo. Diego is played by Jeffrey Wahlberg. Musician Scott Walker is dead at 76. The cause is unknown. Many in the music world express sadness. Walker was the famed lead singer of the Walker Brothers. His record label tweeted, "Scott leaves to future generations a legacy of extraordinary music." That's all for entertainment today. I'm Bridget Kramer. Back to you guys.
More to come on Valley View News. Hear Russia's reaction to Mueller's report.
And a recall of avocados grown in California. See which company has been affected. Stay tuned.
When you're running your own business and taking care of your disabled brother, you tend to learn about responsibility pretty quickly.
Welcome back to Valley View News. CSUN's campus newspaper has been at work on several stories.
For a look into the week's headlines, here's Sundial's Elliot Keegan.
This week at the Sundial, we report on why so many LAUSD students are showing up to CSUN unable to do college-level math and English. About 1/3 of the students who arrive aren't ready to do college-level work. And one of the reasons we found is when they're still in high school, when they fail some of their general ed classes, they're allowed to take credit recovery courses, and the work in those classes just isn't as rigorous as it would normally be. So you can read more about that story and others at the CSUN Online. Back to you in the studio.
Let's get the latest in international news from Claudia Flores in our Digital Media Center.
Russian officials are reacting to this weekend's Mueller report, claiming they did not conspire with anyone in the Trump administration. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says the Mueller report doesn't reveal anything new.
Accusations against Russia that keep being voiced in terms of election interference, we still deem baseless. Even the brief information presented in the summary letter is baseless.
On the question of electoral interference, Russia says it has not interfered in U.S. domestic affairs, nor does it plan to do so. Israel has retaliated against Hamas militants for this weekend's rocket attack on a home near Tel Aviv. Today, Israeli forces hit numerous Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip, including a headquarters building. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with President Trump at the White House this morning. He says he'll go back to deal with the latest violence. It comes just 2 weeks before an election. Israeli Education Minister Naftali Bennett says militant Hamas was responsible for the attack.
Hamas has established a full Hamastan terror state in Gaza. Time and again, they're initiating unprovoked attacks on Israeli citizens, villages, homes, and cities. It's time for them to feel the full thrust of Israel's force, and they will pay the price for what they did.
The rocket attack wounded 7 people. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack. This is the furthest distance the rocket's been fired into Israel since its war with Hamas in 2014. British Prime Minister Theresa May says she doesn't have enough support to bring back her Brexit deal for a third parliamentary vote. Hundreds of thousands demonstrated in London this weekend for a new referendum. MP Daniel Kaczynski says May should have to resign.
We'll back your deal, we will get this across the line, but we now need somebody else to take us forward in those very intensive negotiations.
May says she is upset about the situation, but insisted that people from all sides of the debate hold passionate views. The EU has extended the deadline for Britain to come up with a plan until May. The death toll in southern Africa is still rising almost 2 weeks after Cyclone Idai hit the region. More than 700 people have died. The Category 2 storm made landfall after midnight in Beira, Mozambique. Many died while they slept. 90% of the city is destroyed. 100-mile-per-hour winds brought massive rainfall into Mozambique, then Zimbabwe and Malawi. And all more than 500,000 people were affected. More than 100,000 are in camps. Syrian Democratic Forces say ISIS has lost its connection with Syria. British and French special forces say they have set free Baghouz. SDF says 11,000 people were killed battling with the militant group. When they were fighting, an estimated 1,500 civilians and 500 ISIS fighters remained. As the assault occurred, the numbers went higher. The head of the Middle East and North Africa program at Chatham House says they need a long-term strategy to prevent another reemergence. The family who owns Krispy Kreme says their ancestors were Nazis. A 3-year investigation discovered Albert Reimann Sr. and Jr. were supporters of Adolf Hitler. They had Russian and French prisoners do forced labor in their factories during World War II. The Reimann family is one of the richest in Germany. They own Panera Bread, Keurig Dr. Pepper, and the company that runs Pete's Coffee and Einstein Bagels. The family says it plans to donate $11 million to a charity and publish a book explaining the situation. That is all for international news. Now back to you in the studio.
Now let's get the latest on health with Christina Rodriguez.
California-grown avocados are being recalled for listeria concerns. The Henry Avocado Corporation says both organically and conventionally grown avocados are part of the recall. The company began distributing avocados across 6 states in late January. People should immediately return to the products for a refund. Health officials in Houston are concerned about people who live near last week's chemical fire. The Houston Ship Channel remained closed due to the oil leak into the waterway. The Coast Guard is monitoring conditions. Mayor Jerry Mutin says public safety is his top priority.
I can assure you I am asking the questions to make sure is everything that can be done, be done. And to the best of my ability, I'm here to tell you it is.
Residents of 2 Texas cities were told to shelter in place until the fire was out. Seniors are finding marijuana may be a good remedy for age-related aches. The 2018 General Social Survey says those 65 and older are increasingly supportive of the drug, mainly through the use of edibles. Industry officials say they're seeing an increase in aging baby boomer customers. There's not much research on this yet, but a lot of aging customers say marijuana does help with arthritic pain and helps them sleep. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Heart Association are encouraging lawmakers to pass laws limiting the sweetened drinks consumed by children and teens. This is the first time the AAP is recommending taxes on sugary drinks. The new policy comes after a study published in the journal Circulation reported sugar consumption is connected to premature death. The experts are urging less advertising, more nutrition labels, and more milk and water on children's menus. That's all for health news. Back to you, Natalia and Esteban.
Coming up on Valley View News, Boeing 737 MAX planes are being tested with their new software changes.
Also, Apple will be hosting a big event today to debut its newest products. Stay with us.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? Well, now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Instagram has now added a new feature to their app, making it easier to shop.
Here's Valley View's Sandy Chavez with social media, tech, and business.
Pilots from American, United, and Southwest tested new software changes made to the Boeing 737 MAX. These airlines fly the type of planes involved in the Indonesian and Ethiopian plane crashes. The software changes aim to lower the chances of triggering the maneuvering characteristics augmentation system. The program update uses input from 2 sensors, making it easier for a pilot to regain control in case of a malfunction. Dozens of pilots tested the new update and simulation, and each pilot was able to safely land the aircraft, but Boeing 737 will remain grounded. NASA is debating launching rockets being built by Boeing or use commercial rockets for an upcoming moon mission. NASA wants to use these commercial rockets to avoid any delays on its Orion spacecraft's test flight around the moon next year. It will announce a decision later this week. Apple is having traditional newsstands go digital. CEO Tim Cook says Apple News Plus can access 300 magazines and select news outlets for $9.99 a month. Users also have the ability to narrow down their reading preferences.
We download groups of articles from our servers, and then we use on-device intelligence to make recommendations. And that means we don't know what you read, and in addition to that, we don't allow advertisers to track you.
Newspapers like the Wall Street Journal and the LA Times are involved, but other publishers aren't on board. New York Times CEO says he's worried their reporting could become scrambled among other outlets. Reports also say Apple's terms involve a 50% revenue cut. Google is releasing a new streaming service for video games called Stadia. It allows users to play games using Wi-Fi without any downloading. Users can stream video games on a TV with Chromecast, computer with Chrome, or Google Pixel devices. Google product manager says the idea is for gamers to play wherever they are during the day. Stadia will also help users connect with Assistant and easily upload content to YouTube. Instagram is trying to level up. The social media giant introduced a new checkout option on its app. Instead of viewing the View on Website button, users will see a new Checkout on Instagram option. Only 23 businesses are participating in the trial phase, and all others will have to wait until it evolves. Uber and Lyft drivers in Southern California are participating in a day-long strike due to pay cuts. Uber is cutting wages by 25%, and Lyft is set to do the same. Uber brought down its pay to 60 cents per mile. Drivers say it was $1 before. The ride-sharing drivers are demanding a $28 per hour minimum rate. The Independent Drivers Guild represents 70,000 Uber, Lyft, Juno, and Via drivers. Pinterest is going public on the New York Exchange. The company says it hopes to raise $100 million. It lost $63 million last year. Pinterest has more than 250 monthly users, making it competition for Twitter and Snapchat. It joins other companies going public this year, including Lyft, Slack, and Postmates. That's it for social media news and tech news. I'm Sandy Chavez. Back to you.
The inaugural Puppies and Planks Festival brought humans and their canines together to raise awareness for LA Animal Services. The free event encouraged the public to bring their furry friends to the Los Angeles State Historic Park on National Puppy Day to take photos, have a picnic, and take part in fitness activities. The dog company Petco partnered with Puppies and Planks to help raise money to support local animal shelters. Megan Oxford says spending quality time and staying active with your pet is very important.
The human-animal bond is so important to us. That's, the key to our business, and being a part of events like this that celebrate that, being with your pets and, staying healthy together, it's perfect.
The fitness festival raised $20,000 that will be donated to local rescue organizations and shelters throughout Los Angeles. New Jersey high schoolers are being praised for their stage adaptation of the movie Alien. The play centered on a crew of a commercial spaceship. The group of highly motivated students made their costumes from recycled material. The remake went viral after social media users posted videos and pictures online. The students themselves raised the money for the play to take place.
That's all for us at Valley View News. Thank you for watching. I'm Natalia Vivino.
And I'm Esteban Reynoso. For news any time of day, go to our website, sundial.csun.edu. See you next week.